And we are live.
Woo. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first remote ngCopenhagen meetup. We are very happy to have you all here. I hope that you had a nice short holiday and a good start of the week. I guess I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Mohsen. I'm one of the organizers of ngCopenhagen. I work as a front-ender at Maersk, and here we also have
Peter?
We got this event set up. Looking forward to our first show here in ngCopenhagen. Have a blast. I'm also a front-end developer, coding Angular a lot.
So yeah, I'm Alexander. We are very excited about this event. This is our first online session, so I hope you all bear with us. Hopefully everything will work out just fine. Maybe some of you noticed that I'm sitting with a Viking helmet on. I will get back to that later and just give it up for Sherry.
Yes, hi everybody. I'm Sherry. I'm also one of the organizers of ngCopenhagen and really happy to see you all here. And I hope you all are doing well despite the current situation. And as Alexander mentioned, that this is a very fast version of ngCopenhagen online. And I really hope all goes well. So with that in mind, this is our agenda for today. We have two speakers, Natalia and Michael. And then Natalia is going to give a talk called Exploring the Jamstack in Angular. Welcome to Scully. And Michael is going to give a talk which is called Extending Angular for the Reactive Web. Both of the topics are pretty exciting. And between after each talk, you're going to have time to ask your question from the speakers as well. So, for those of you that been to our meetup before, we have a section which is called Meet and Greet, which is basically my favorite part of the meetup, apart from the talks, of course. So in this section, what we normally do is that spending time to talk to the people that we met for the first time at the community, which can result to be a new community friend. But with the current situation that we are remote, we are not going to have that section, which is pretty sad. All we have is the chat functionality in the YouTube that you can see. So please be creative and use that one as a part that you try to find a new community friend. And you can be creative and even write a code. I don't know. Just be creative. Sky is your limit. But we are at the same time also with the whole team are trying to find out how we can bring that feeling of being part of the community back to our meetups and how we can have those meet and greets. We brainstormed a lot of different ideas, and then one of them was that maybe we can create a Twitch TV for our meetup where we can hack together, we can pair programming together, we can meet and greet each other, or we can even doing some jam programming with each other to write an application which give us opportunity to have a meet and greet, and then we have it open source for the whole meetups on the Angular community as well. So we have a lot of ideas, but the important part is that you are the member of our community and we want to do what you want us to do. And that's why that we created like a survey, which is of course feedback form for you, but also we ask you a question regarding that if we create this Twitch channel, what do you want to see there? What type of meetups that, or not meetups, what type of activities you want us to see there? So please fill out this form. We are going to also put the link of the survey in the chat as well. So if you haven't scanned it now, you will have option later on as well. With that in mind, I'm handing it over to Alexander with community news.
Yeah, we have a few news to announce today. One of them is very awesome, and the reason why I'm sitting with a Viking helmet, NG Vikings is going to happen, and it's going to be online and awesome as always. What is even more awesome is that you can watch the whole conference for free. So there are no excuses for not joining this awesome event. Another thing we want to mention is there's something new called Angular Nation. And this is a very cool upcoming place where you can find a lot of great stuff like articles, courses. You can trade tips and network with others. A lot of Google developer experts already joined. Angular core team members has joined. Others like Ionic and others are also there. So it's a great place. More importantly, everyone are super nice, and you will feel welcome from the start. And it doesn't matter if you are a beginner or an expert. So just check it out. We can totally recommend it. Yeah, and that's the community news for now.
And we give it to Peter to talk about the feedbacks and what we need from you.
Yeah, I think it goes so fast those slides today. Anyway, as many of you know, we are always looking for speakers, for volunteers that want to help us. Your feedback is so important for us, so we can, make it even better next time. As Sherry says, we are like planning some cool hacks, some cool workshops and stuff. So we do need what you find cool to be able to create these kind of cool events. Also, be kind to spread the word. Say that there's some activities going on here in ngCopenhagen. Always centered around Angular, but we also do a lot more. Everything in this world costs money. So if any of you would consider being a sponsor, we are really happy to talk with you. If you're interested, you can write to us, and we will get back to you. There is some options where you could expose yourself here and other places where we are attending. I think that's it, isn't it? Yeah, if you want to speak, contact us. If you want to speak together with somebody else, one of us maybe, contact us. If you have good ideas, contact us. Just contact us. Okay? See you.
Yes, we want your feedback. So before we start everything, I want to remind you to get familiar to yourself with our code of conduct, which is pretty simple. We really, for us, the community is very important, and we really don't want anyone to get offended or to feel not welcome. So please think for a couple of seconds before you want to make any comment, and if you believe that your comment can offend anyone and the possibility of that is 0.000001, please don't do that. And if any of you felt uncomfortable, please reach out to one of us. We're really going to take everything seriously, and we handle the situation. It never happened to us, and I'm pretty sure that is not going to happen. But I want you all to remember this part. So let's get started. As I mentioned, the first speaker for today is Natalia. She's originally from Uruguay and she lives in Barcelona. and she's the Google developer expert and romantic maker lead. And recently, I had an honor to interview her, and I know a little bit about her background and how she became the person today. And her story is pretty amazing. I'm going to put the link to her story here, and I really recommend you all to look at it because it's so inspiring. Um, Her story, and one thing is about Natalia, that she's full of energy and she's really fun to be around, and I know it very well because I had a great chance to meet her in the community. You never get bored while you are with her, and she is introducing herself as a person with zero spatial orientation, which means that if you're going with her in the city, she might not ever notice that where she's going. And I know what she means because I'm also like that. But if she ever wants to remember something, she totally does that. If, for example, a very strange address happened, she happened to be in Copenhagen with some strange street name, those very long one, connected one, and she can totally remember that because she also considers herself at the meantime as a one password for the family. So, with that in mind, please give a virtual round of applause for Natalia. You can type clap, clap in the chat so she will notice that you give a round of applause. So, stage is yours, Natalia.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me well? I am super paranoid that you don't hear me because when we are here in the backstage, we hear nothing, and so it's a bit weird. So yes, thank you very much. Am I presenting already my screen? No, I think no. Let me share my screen. Yes, and go to the presentation. Like you said, yes, I am from Uruguay. I am a front end as well, and I am a GD, like you mentioned. Also, part of the Women Tech Makers Barcelona. And yes, I have been working with Angular for quite a while, but I'm super excited about the new features, about the new functionalities, about all these new tools that we are getting, and that the core team and other people in the community as well are offering us to work with every day. So let's okay, so this is not moving. Yeah, there you go. So let's throw back to February this year when we learned that the Ivy compiler was coming out finally after such a long wait. And I think the most important feature for many of us was the possibility that the compiler gave us of reducing the size of the applications, especially for those that were large applications or small applications. But there was this portion in the middle that didn't really have much impact, or that was left, or because of the construct of these applications, were not taking advantage so much of all these optimizations. Why we care so much as developers and as people that work in the web about the size of the application? Because it has obviously a tremendous impact on performance. And we all know that when an application is too big and the user has to wait too long for it to download, well, they many times abandon our sites. They go away and they never get to really do anything productive. But also our clients, many of us are building applications for other companies, for other businesses. We want those businesses to convert, like if there is a shopping cart, for example, if there is abandonment, that never happens. And that's why performance is super important. Also because we need to be respectful of the data that people buy in order to browse the internet. And if we are downloading or sending a lot of data over the wire, we are misusing that information possibilities that our users have. So with client-side rendering, which is the default or the out-of-the-box rendering approach for client-side applications like SPAs. A lot happens in the browser, like the browser handles the logic, the routing, fetches the data, outputs the HTML, and in the end, that's a lot to do for the browser. The browser is super busy, and what happens is that maybe if you do things right at a development stage, let's say, and if you have your other part of the strategies right, maybe you get a fast first paint, a fast first contentful paint, and a fast time to first byte. Those are metrics used to understand the performance of a website as it loads, right? But the cons is because these operations happen at runtime, and again at the browser, there is sometimes a very, very slow time to interactive, right? So this is not optimal, this is not ideal, and we have been all the time trying to figure out how we can do things better. There are many, many different ways to enhance that or to move from the pure client-side rendering. One of them is the server rendering plus CSR or plus client-side rendering, which in return is server-side rendering. And this is a technique where basically what we do is we render all the HTML on the server or in the server side, and then we put all the data back to the client by bootstrapping the application, right? What happens here in this case is that sometimes there is a duplication of data, a duplication of HTML in many cases, because we are requesting data and we are rendering things twice, and then we are doing something that is called hydration. We are putting things on top and making the DOM hydrated with data. And that sometimes produces a flicker that that is also unpleasant and that is not performant or is not perceived as performant. In Angular, we have our own version of server-side rendering. It's called Angular Universal. What happens with Angular Universal is that well, it offers a way of overcoming this flickering that I mentioned before. It's called the transfer transfer state, sorry. And what happens is that the requests to data and the routing operations on all that is only done in the server and then transferred to the client. But what happens with server-side rendering and Angular Universal is that you need to develop for it from the get-go. From the first moment, you need to be conscious that you need dependencies that support this architecture because you're doing it all in the server over an express engine, and you don't have access to the browser until much later. So you need to have a real dedicated infrastructure, let's say, and you need to code specifically to make this happen and to make this happen right. So like I said, in an Angular Universal application, you make the request, you get the data, and then you get all the data and application transferred and bootstrap back to the browser. I went a bit ahead of the slides because I get excited speaking about these topics I like so much that I go even before my own slides. So yes, this is one of the ways we have to overcome all the negative aspects, let's say, of client-side rendering. But there are more ways to achieve improvements in terms of performance, and that have also to do with some sort of rendering strategy that doesn't happen in the browser but happens elsewhere. So before we go too much ahead, and I go ahead before of my slides, let me talk to you about the Jamstack. So if you haven't been in a cave, like a Viking, I don't know if Vikings lived in caves, probably not. They lived in some very nice homes. But if you haven't been hiding somewhere, even through the COVID pandemic, you know well that the Jamstack has been out and has had this hype for the past 2 years. I read that it's available, or it's something that is been offered for 5 years even. But I think the last 2 years have been gaining a lot of traction for the Jamstack and all the actors, let's say, involved in this architecture methodology or construct. And I think that the winning side of the Jamstack is that it provides you everything. Basically, it provides you nice hosting platforms that already integrate the best practices of it. Like, for example, the Jamstack tells you that you need to have everything hosted in Git, right? And so there are really nice integrations between, if we're going to talk about names, for example, between GitHub and Netlify, which is one of the most, I wouldn't say notorious, but one of the most used platforms for the Jamstack. And there are also other practices that say, or best practices that say, that everything needs to be, or deploys need to be atomic. And also, again, GitHub provides actions in order to make sure that every time you push to GitHub, you get a deploy to Netlify and a build consequently. And all of these have made it so popular, because people don't really have to really think or invest money or invest time into these developments. They're all like atomically maintained by different teams, by different service providers, and this is what makes it so attractive for many people that can invest maybe in other aspects of development and not in infrastructure. So, like I said, those are the things that make it so good and so wanted. Yeah, but there is one particular thing that was holding the Angular community back in order to start leveraging it, and that was that one of the things that the Jamstack says is that the HTML or the markup has to be pre-rendered. It has to be there already when you request the site, right? So it's not a dynamic kind of approach, but more of a static kind of approach. And we didn't have a tool to do that other than Angular Universal, which again we said was a little bit more complex than just the type of sites that fit in the Jamstack approach. So yes, another thing that the Jamstack provides is already by default the ability to overcome latency. Latency is it's one of those things that really impact performance as well. If you have your site requested to the other side of the world, of I don't know, if you're in Copenhagen and you are requesting it to Japan, obviously you're going to have a very, very high latency, and that is going to, in the end, turn into a very slow website. One of the fundamentals of the Jamstack is that everything should be distributed by content distribution networks, even the assets. And you don't have to rely on one service only. You can have your images in a service that takes care of images or media assets only, like Cloudinary, for example. So there has been a partition of concerns in between services and how we handle the final delivery of our websites. And again, for the site to be static and for the site to have this or markup pre-rendered before, we didn't have a tool until now. But now we do. In Angular, we do. It had been there for other frameworks already available and I don't know, very well used. But now we are finally having the possibility in our community to leverage static site generation or pre-rendering, and that's with Scully. And Scully is a tool that was created by Hero Devs. Hero Devs is or are people very, very well known in the community. That's Jorge Cano, Aaron Frost and Sander Elias. And yes, they came together and they built this amazing tool. They built it on top of Puppeteer. Puppeteer is a headless browser. It provides an API that you can use to control a Chromium browser. And basically, it's very easy to add it to your Angular application. And I told like 2 weeks ago in Angular Netherlands that I was super surprised of how easy it had been to make it work for a site that I already had. So this site had been an Angular 7 site that I upgraded to Angular 9, and then I installed Scully, and everything worked as like by the book. And I didn't have any issues, any struggles. It was super smooth. So you can add Scully with schematics, ngadd, Scully.io. And then basically how it works is, yes, the browser makes a request, and the compilation has already happened, or during the compilation time that has already happened, Scully has already fetched all the data, has already taken care of all the routes, and for every route it finds with a discovery mechanism it has inbuilt, or that you configure for it to find for you, it creates a pre-render and it puts it in a distribution folder in your server. And that's it. You are ready to go. So you do an ng build of your application and you run npm run Scully. You can pass different flags. If you, for example, want Scully to discover new routes because you generated new content, you can pass the scan routes flag. And then everything is ready in your distribution folder. And we're going to see it now, but first we're going to talk about the plugins. I said that that there is this inbuilt mechanism for route discovery, and it's one of the types of plugins that Scully offers. So there is router, there is render, which takes care of HTML transformation, and there is file handling. So you can have different types of file, pre or post-process during the compilation that Scully can modify via schematics or can realize some operations on top of in order to get whatever you need, right? And I think what I love the most about this type of tools, like many other things in the CLI, is that you can create your own. Like if you have specific needs, you can write your own plugin, and it's super easy. I'm going to show you how. And then you can, I don't know, deliver with additional routing operations, or you need some additional rendering processing or transformations. Then you can write your own plugins in JavaScript and put them for Scully to discover, import them into Scully configuration, and then you can just use them. So I'm going to move to a different desktop. I am always all over the place when I'm doing a presentation, and I didn't want to show these first, but okay. I wanted to show my IDE first. So basically I have installed already. Just don't look at this now because I'm going to talk about this later. But what I mentioned is that there are some types of sites that are very, very much ideal to have static rendering, because for static rendering, you need stable data. Like if you have a page that you know your users are never going to interact with, that whatever it renders, it's going to stay like this. It's obviously an overkill to have the Angular application being loaded. Even if you're using lazy loading to load your modules and stuff, you need to still load a lot of stuff, right? We already discussed that. So what we want to do is, for example, in the case of a blog site, right? In the case of a blog site, you have these static pages that are always going to be providing the same information and data. So why having all this overload, right? And Scully gives you the possibility of having a blog functionality out of the box as well with an additional schematic that you can install. And this is what I did. I want to show you, I want to go back to the presentation because I actually had something else I wanted to show. And it was this. So if you run ngGenerate scali.io /init and to column block, you are already by default having the blog functionality ready to use. And this is installed on top of a plugin that converts Markdown to HTML. So not only you can use schematics to install this functionality and have it ready, you can generate each post also with schematics just like that. And what happens when you run this? Okay, so now, yes, let's go to our IDE. So what happens is when you run Scali, like I mentioned, it creates a distribution in the distribution folder, a static folder with all the entries that are pre-rendered. In this case, we have now a blog folder, and you see that this blog folder it's defined in the configuration. It's defined in the configuration because when you run this command, it asks you via some prompts where you want to put it. So you can change actually this folder name, but let's stick with the defaults for this demo. And I just went with whatever they suggested, which was blog, and they make it a content folder. And in this content folder, every time you create a new post with schematics as well, this blog post here, this blog folder here, you get one of these Markdown files. So you pass the name as the options, like we saw before here. So you pass the name as options, and you, for example, say, I want it to be called my first entry. And then Scali with schematics creates that for you. So my first post is here, and it's Markdown file where you can write just regular Markdown, and basically you have some configuration options that you can also have externally in a YAML file where you give it a title, a description, and you define whether this blog post is published or not, right? So in this case, I have it already published, and this means that next time I run, I can extend it, right? I can write something else here. Now let's write hello ngCopenhagen. And next time I run Scali, this is going to be picked up, and a new HTML, sorry, not this one, is going to be generated here with whatever I type. Okay, so let's go ahead and try to do that, and I hope this works. So I have the application running already. And it's here. I created a nice static block. This has already been discovered by Scali, and it's already being rendered. And it's already being rendered because I created again also here a module that is called entries. And in my app component, I am telling my application to collect the list of all the router links that are available. The router links for Scali are regular links simply. And this conversion you can see once you see the HTML output, right? But you can see also as well how that is happening over here. Sorry. I think it's in the application module. This is the routing module. Sorry, my kids are screaming. and they're putting me a bit off the mode. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back. Where did I create this? Okay, this is the blog, and the application module. Let's recap so I go back in track. In the application module, you can also see that I am importing the Scali library, right? And I am passing it to the imports over here. I'm injecting this. And now I have this library available to do that I don't know where exactly I put it, because I created so much stuff to have a very nice application. So this is the routing, this is the blog. Probably it's over here. Yes. Okay. So it's over here. So here I have the activated routes. No. Okay. I guess we're gonna move on until I get back in track. So okay, each one of these blog posts, they are discovered and they're put in this list because I have run this this command. Let's go and do it. So first of all, we need to have built the application. Build. Okay, VM. I need to have another version. Also, I have several versions of Node, and this happens to me all the time. ngBuild. So with that, we build the application. That it's obviously necessary that we build every time. And after that, we are going to be running npm. Let me clear a bit here. npm run Scali. And like I said, we're going to pass this scan routes flag. And Angular. Okay, so now it's running, it's discovering everything that it has. And it says, okay, I have found these routes for you, this list I created here. And you see that there is this block route, and there is also this dynamic entry route. Why? Because I mentioned before, and you can see like you can see here in the configuration, that the block creates a content folder where then it creates these markdown files that you can extend, and then you run Scali, and it renders HTML files in your static folder. Right? It also renders this 404 for you, so you can catch these kind of errors by default. But also, what happens when you want to scale up? You maybe, if you are one single user in your application and you're writing all these markdown files by hand and in your IDE, and pushing them to Git, that's all fine, but that doesn't scale. If you really want to have a platform that you can sign users in and have them write blog posts, then you're gonna have to have a more sophisticated system, right? So for example, what I did here is I created this form very much like the one there is in Dev2, because I explained a couple of weeks ago, I wanted to work on a workshop, or I wanted to explain people how they could achieve this same functionality with Scali. And it's super easy. What we have here is actually two text areas. One that grabs this configuration from a YAML file, parses it, and puts it here. In this case, the only actual attribute that is, or the only property that has a value is the published one, because obviously this blog is not published, very much like that 2 does. And then another text area where you can start writing Markdown. Let's imagine we are doing this. And we write something. And we could potentially here have another form control to upload images, in this case from Cloudinary. I became across the problem that the ng2 file upload was having some conflicts with the Angular 9 IB compiler. So I couldn't make this work for Cloudinary, but this should be the idea. And I'm actually pushing this repository to GitHub so we can probably work together on this and make it a real thing. And then you have obviously a post button that will just collect all the values from these form controls and push them to an API. In this case, I created just a mock in order to have the idea that we're doing this. And then this is going to be collecting the title, the description, the published, whether it's static or not, because you're going to have to flag this information one way or another. Basically here is missing the text body, but you would have it here. And just imagine you have all this information in an API, then you can really create a hybrid application that collects dynamic data when necessary and static data when it's already pre-rendered. So let's go back here, right? And let's go back to the configuration. And this is when this other configuration part comes into play. So these are this is what is going to make possible for you to grab dynamic data to complete this or to create this platform in a way that is scalable. You can define here, like you see in the routes. In the routes, we have the blog. That's Slag. Slag is the name of the blog. And here in entries, I gave it the title one. So it's going to basically request from this URL, from the URL where we have the data, the endpoint. It's going to look for the property title, and that's what is going to match the entries/route as path. And this is what is going to generate then later in this other folder, in the static folder. So we're going to have entries, and each one of those posts that we saw here, new dynamic post, it's going to be created over here. Obviously, we can use strings, schematic strings, or a plugin, like I mentioned, in order to make sure that this path looks something that we can render then in a URL. But let's go back now, to the source. And here in entries, in the routing module, we see that we have this column title that matches that route, and that we have also added it to the application routing, the full module, so we can have it called from the application. And now, okay. And now, now we're going to finally, now that I came back on track, we're going to finally use the Scali route service in order to create this observable from the available entries in Scali. The available entries are those that are effectively published. So now we're going to go back to the blog, and we're going to see that this is pulling the blog and the first post description, and the page is not rendered. This has happened to me a couple of times. I am not really sure why. I want to build it for you to see it. But before, I want to give a last thought on plugins. So I mentioned before that we can write plugins that in a way affect either the routing, the rendering, or the file handling of the application. And they can be written anywhere. You can put them anywhere. In this case, I put them in the root of the application. And I have a few that I was playing with, like for example this test plugin, or this render JSON data plugin. And this render JSON data plugin, I was discussing with Sander, and I told him it would be super nice if we could get this data that we are collecting into this render plugin, so we can do more things with it, right? And it's possible. It's actually, there is this inbuilt plugin in Scali that is the one that is making it possible to call the endpoint from the configuration, and it's here. Let me see. So I was playing today with it a little bit, and in router plugins we have this JSON route plugin, and basically here is where this magic happens. When it's loading the data, or what you're doing actually over here is just calling this plugin, and you can write your own, and you can use them just simply by requiring them. Like you can do, for example, require, and so plugins, and in this case I wrote this I don't know, get entry data plugin, right? So you just call it here, get data get data plugin JS. And then, for example, let's imagine that this is a rendering plugin, and that you want it to affect all your routes. So you can create here a default renderers, and there's property, and you just pass. Let me see how we register, because you have to register this data plugin. Have to register your plugin like this. So you take this, pass it into this property, and this is going to immediately affect every route in your configuration. So basically, this is it with Scali. I'm going to, while Michael talks, I'm going to try to fix the rendering. I went through this before, and I'm not sure how it sometimes, or why, what I was doing different, that sometimes it gets, things get rendered and sometimes they don't. Maybe it's because I have the application app, and then I need to maybe just build it and run Scali and relaunch the server. But it was a little bit unstable. Not unstable. I'm sure it's something I'm not doing in the way it is supposed. But let me find out while Michael gives his talk, and come back to you. So basically, again, what I want to invite you to is that you what I want to invite you to is that you is this repository and maybe contribute to make it work for educational purposes. And also stay tuned, because we're going to be collaborating with Sander in a course very soon in Angular Nation. One thing I really wanted to go about, but I think I'm on time, but very quickly. So like I mentioned, you can have a pool of your dynamic and your static data to display in your application. And how you would do this, it would be like when the user creates a post, it goes to get stored in the API, and then you can get it either manually in your development environment, and you can push it to your Git hosting, which is part of the best practices of the Jamstack, which in turn will trigger a deploy and build to your hosting region. Or you could in your hosting region have a webhook, right, that automates this build. I did this simply with a build hook in Netlify and a scheduler in this new application I didn't know about, which is called Zapier. And maybe it's not new, but I didn't know about it. And I did it, I could schedule it to pull or to do a build, trigger a build every day or every month or every hour. That's going to depend on your traffic and your volume of new posts or new entries. And once you have this automated, you are sure that even when at times some of the blog posts are going to be requested dynamically, after a certain time, everything will be static, and you are going to be getting the most of Scali and delivering in the most performant way. So yes, basically that's it. Thank you very much, and stay tuned, like I said, for the Dev2 post, where I'm going to explain how this all works, and for the Angular Nation course or courses every time more advanced on how to get the most out of Scali. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Natalia. It was a great talk.
Thank you.
Let's see that if there are any questions.
Yeah.
One comment is here that Lars, one of the members, he's mentioning here that this is super nice. He's been looking for a Gatsby-like library for Angular for some time. So looks super nice and can solve a lot of SEO issues if you cannot
Exactly.
do the SSR or don't have a server for that.
Exactly. So this is one of the also one of the advantages of using static site generation is that you have a proper SEO optimized environment or site, right? Correct.
Great. And Bonnie is saying that great job, Natalia. So
thank you very much.
Yes.
But I'm still going to see what's going on with the generation, and after Michael is done, I'm going to come back and show you the generated pages working in the site.
Great. Wonder to know that if there is any questions, or we can go to the next speaker. And since we have Natalia here, if you have more questions later on, she's going to answer it.
Of course.
So thank you very much, Natalia.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's go for the second speaker that we have for today is Mike. And Mike is a Google developer expert in Angular, and he's also a Microsoft MVP. He's organizer of Angular Vienna. He is based in Vienna as well. And he is one of the most active speakers that I know. And literally, it's been any conference that I've been to, Mike was a speaker, and it's just because he's a super awesome speaker and he has a lot to offer. We all know that he has a big love for RxJS and reactive programming. If you notice his Twitter handle, actually not Twitter handle, Twitter name, there is an RX in it as well. When I said that he is a super active speaker, which means that he travels a lot, or you can say that he used to travel because of all the current situation that we have, which brings it here that he is confessing to us that he is most of the time, regularly actually, he forgets his hotel rooms because he is going around a lot, which I know what does it mean. I don't actually often forget my hotel rooms, but I often forget my passport, which is another level of complication. And one thing about him is he is really good in karaoke, and he won the award of best karaoke singer in 2019, and I can totally vote for him because I seen him singing in a lot of places. So next time you meet Michael at some of the conferences, hopefully in future that we can go and we can go to the karaoke, make sure to follow him and see him singing. And the other thing about Michael is that he can read your palm. And I'm not joking. I've seen him doing that as well. And he takes courses on that. So this is another thing that you can ask Michael to do next time that you meet him. With that in mind, we are going to, I'm going to ask you all to give a virtual clap for Michael and let him on the stage. The stage is yours, Michael.
Hello. Thanks for your very, very detailed introduction. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay? Test 1, 2.
Yes, we do hear you.
Okay. Then I will try to share my screen. Can you see my screen? Okay. I assume this is a yes. So I will start. Let me have a sip of my branded ngBe mug and my branded ngBe t-shirt. Okay, the title of today's talk, Extending Angular for the Reactive Web. And as you already mentioned, Rx is one of my big passions, and therefore even more happy to finally be at a stage where I can give such a presentation or talk about such a tool set which derived over the last 1.5 years. Okay, so what I will talk about is I will introduce you into the current state of Angular. Where are we at the moment in terms of reactivity? Where will we go to? Then I will introduce some tools to you. I will give a lot of live demos. I hope I will make some of them work. I already crashed one right before the talk here, so we have no zoneless demo today, but yeah, we have to deal with it. And then I will give you a roadmap on what I will work in the next months or let's say in the next 1.5 years. Okay, the current state of Angular. The current state of Angular in respect of RxJS. So as your application grows and grows and grows, there at some point is a need to switch paradigms. At some point, you have an application that looks like this, where a lot of different behavioral patterns fly around. You have state mutations there, you have a pull-based here, push-based there, and everything is a mess. If everything is a mess, a lot of failures, a lot of problems, and a lot of bugs appear. And most of the time, all those bugs are not really easy to solve. I remember one of my talks from 2019, which was on heavily interactive user interfaces. A company booked me where their KPI screen, so the screen that brought the most value or the screen where the most users were on it, had a bug since over 1 year and they were not able to fix it. So what I did is I reverse engineered all their setup, tried to restructure this, and this was my work 2019, how to restructure application and give data flow. Of course, I used RxJS to introduce this structure and separation of concerns. And it worked pretty well, but still there was a lot of things to do to achieve certain important stuff, like organizing the different processes in events. I came up with a lot of internal subscription handling and also other streams that were not really clear what they where they really belong to. Also, separating this stuff was using it was easy, but implementing it still clumsy, and this was more or less the current status. What is Angular today? So the service layer is okayish. We have our state management tools that we know. We also have the router, and all those things offer us reactive functionality. On the component level, it is not that good. I mean, we have the reactive forms, barely typed, and that's it. And on the component level, we have nearly nothing. The thing that we all know and use is the async pipe, and excuse me, the async pipe is pretty boring. Also, if we take a look on how applications look like, we have those small pieces that Angular provides, and then a lot of custom glue that we have to implement to make everything work together. If we take a look in the far future, we realize that Angular is also investigating a lot in how to decouple a little bit more from the reactive layer and provide it really as independent to don't have that much maintenance work and make it more opt-in for everybody to use it. So we are not really blessed with a lot of effort from the Angular team in terms of helping us with this. What we end up with is an application structure, a data flow, as I showed before, that is weird, messy. And this is not because so many different things are using. This is just because some important things are missing. And the important things is, as I told you, the well-thought reactive glue that helps you to glue everything together and to come up with clear, maintainable structures. For those clear and maintainable structures, I worked on some tools. 2019, I came up with a really, really huge RFC that marked all different areas in Angular that would need a little bit more reactive treatment. It had over 8,000 words and had hundreds of comments on GitHub under the ngRx repository. This is also the repository where I started to contribute some part of the template stuff. But first, let's talk about another thing that didn't make it to the ngRx repository. Before I start, a quick introduction. My name is Michael Latki. I'm lead instructor at Trillon, do workshops, training, inside consulting, and help people and big companies to keep up with modern technologies. If there is time left, I'm on conferences and sing karaoke. Okay, so what we want to achieve is a structure like that, a clean data flow. We know what's going on. We look at it. We understand where the data live, where they are going to, and we clearly have less maintenance effort to keep everything stable. Two tools that I will demonstrate to you to enable you to implement such a cool structure is rx angular /state and rx angular /template. The first thing is rx angular /state. This library is initially it was presented on the keynote of ngBE last year, and the official release of the library was a couple of months ago. So far, I'm really happy with the release because now we already count over 100 stars and nearly 800 downloads. So quite a lot within such a small amount of time. This service has a well-thought API that helps you to glue together different pieces of observables inside of a component, maintain subscription, and compose its state. On the left side, I have entering values. On the right side, I have leaving values. At the very top, I have the unmodified state itself. And at the bottom, I have a function or a method that is called hold that helps you to handle side effects. At the left side on the bottom, I have set, and set is, as the name implies, a setter function. You provide an object and you can run partial updates, or you can also provide a projection function and receive the previous state to calculate the new one. On the right side, we have the imperative pendant to it, the get function. And the get function, as the name implies, returns you the state, and then you can get certain slices of this state. Whenever we deal with state selections or state derivations, we maybe already know that we have to repetitively put all those operators like filter out undefined values, distinct changed values, and then run our computation and in the end share and replay the last result. Select is dealing with that, and you just use it. You can plug out operators or you can provide operators, and the rest of the operators that you use all over the time are provided automatically. And then we have the connect method, and the connect method is pretty cool. The connect method helps you to connect observables directly to the state. This is done over a higher order operator called merge all. If you want to know details about all the implementations, you have to watch a talk that is called Tackling Component State Reactively, which is also linked in this library. The interface of the library is also pretty nice. As you can see, it receives partial of t, and t is the state itself. It returns partial of t, and then we have observable t itself at the very top. And this is a very symmetric and very intuitive API to use that I want to demo to you now. And for my demo, I prepared a small exercise with a list. I have a list here, and whenever I click the button, the list refreshes and I receive the new items from the server after the delay is done. Also automatically in the background, I have this tick that is ticking every 10 seconds, or if I control it here differently, every 1 second, which automatically fetches. This is all my state that I want to manage, and I start with a completely imperative setup. If we take a look here, we have not a single observable, and I try to introduce or basically refactor everything to a reactive state. The first thing that I do is I extend my class with the Rx state service, and I provide the interface of the state. With this done, I have all the methods set, get, select, and connect, and hold on the class itself. So what I could do is I could start to introduce state. So as I talked about the glue in applications, let me tell you some cases where we are not really reactive. For example, one of the cases where we are not really reactive is input bindings. Input bindings are imperative and they are not composable. As you can see, no observable can help you here to get the value that is entering this function. So for these cases, I implemented the imperative operate method set. The imperative method set, as I told you, sits now directly on my class. And what this method is taking is a partial key with the key of refresh interval and its value, the number. And if I call this set whenever the refresh interval enters, my state will update automatically. And this is the way how I can glue all imperative things like lifecycle hooks, input bindings to our state. And also the getter is here to provide an imperative way to give values to host bindings or so on. I can also use this setter method to initialize my state. And here we already rely on this initial component state, so I will use it and I will initialize my component state here. The second thing that I did. So to test if my state is really working, oh, I can delete this, by the way, because we refactored it. To see if the state is really working, I select the whole state. I use the select method, and if I don't pass any operator or any string, I select the full state, and I can use it in my template. In my template, I use a hack and ngIf. To do so, I use the async pipe and the s syntax and bind the value of my view model observable to a property that is called VM. This line later on can get replaced with my template extensions. But for now, let's stick with state. So now I can stick to this VM model and replace all the other state slices here. I don't need this stuff here, and I can directly access the list over the VM object. Here again, I don't need this. I can just say vm.list. Okay, so with a few changes, my template is reactive now. And I can go back and I can think of some other tasks that people often need to do. And one very common task is connecting global state to my component state here. As the previous method was already a one-liner, let me show you the next one-liner. What I need to do is I need to go here and copy a little snippet and delete the rest. Give me a second. Because I don't need it anymore. And I can place this snippet here. And if we take a look at it, we just use this global store here, list service, we get the list observable, and then we map and we parse these server objects to client objects. So this observable returns a list of items. What I can do now is I can say this connect, and then I can take this observable here and connect it to a certain slice of my state. So the first parameter could be the slice. As you can see, I have auto-completion and it is fully typed. And with this one-liner, I connect the output of the global state to my local state. With a second one-liner, I can merge child state into my component. So from my children, and one of those child state is the list expanded state from my collapse box. The source of this is called list changes, and here I use the map operator, and now I do something different. Instead of providing a key as first parameter, I return an observable directly. And after my pipe here, I say, give me the boolsch value if the list is open or closed, and then I will return list expanded and then the boolsch value. So in this case, I return a state slice. Remember, this could contain many state slices here at once, so I can make partial updates also with multiple slices. With these 3 lines, I completely refactored the component to a reactive setup. If you didn't realize it, I never used the word subscribe here. So the really cool part is with this service, the word subscribe completely goes away, and you never ever have to subscribe to anything, and you can mostly do all your connections with a one-liner. Under the hood, all the complicated problems that arrive, like the late subscriber problems and cold composition, will get managed by the service, and you can really focus on the stuff you need to do without any overhead in architecture, boilerplates, reducer functions, or whatever. Pretty good. Just as a quick proof that it works, if I click the button, I get new items, I can open and close, and I can also type in numbers here and they change. So just that we see, we really refactored it in a very, very short amount of time to a fully reactive setup. And the second thing that I want to ship or talk about is RX Angular templates. This is pretty interesting, and I developed a very similar module for ngRx, which will get shipped in the next week, hopefully, when I can finish up all the back refactorings for the requested changes. In addition to the stuff that is in the ngRx package, this package here will bring you real performance improvement and also gives you a migration path to zoneless applications. The first thing is the push pipe, and this is just a drop-in replacement for the async pipe. There is only one difference here. The push pipe is able to take strategies on how this pipe should render. And those strategies are implemented in all other directives and pipes that I will ship over the time. To give you a first benefit, the push pipe, when used with the right strategy, will give you way less renderings out of the box. And as I said, is a drop-in replacement. The second very primitive that I came up with is a way to help you to get rid of this ngIf hack on the right and bind observable values directly to a context. And this is called the rxlet directive. Also, the rxlet directive here can take strategies, and the rxlet directive will also ship a set of templates that help you to have lazy rendering and lazy templates, because so far we were not able to have something lazy in the templates, and those new directives will change everything. As you can imagine, on my roadmap is not only the rxlet, but the rxif, the rx4, the rxswitch, the rxtemplate ref, the rxtemplate whatever. So a really, really big tool set, everything for a synchronous layer. And with a synchronous layer, also promises are included. So you have to know everything is also working with promises. Okay. Roundup. I have 10 minutes left and I want to get to the meat. First, I want to demo the template directives. The first thing that I want to show you is that I can go into my template and replace this rxif with an rxlet. And this directive now takes the observable directly and helps me to create a variable on the fly. What's now also possible, which I will talk about later, is I can add strategies. And with these strategies, I can basically influence how my whole component is rendering. Let me get rid of it for now and also show you that the async pipe in the push pipe in Pendant would also work. So if I refactor back to my ngIf, I could also get performance improvements by just replacing the async with the push pipe, and also the push pipe can receive a strategy here. For example, the local strategy. So this is how you can use them in a very, very quick and overview manner. The second very interesting thing in this template section are rendering strategies. Rendering strategies are basically here to help you to decide how you should render your component. And I discovered a lot of really cool stuff in the last year when I was researching this stuff. First of all, I realized I never understood zones. Second, I realized zone is even worse than I ever could imagine. Let me give you more insights later. First, there's three strategies. I have the global strategy, and the global strategy is very similar to the change detector ref mark for check. Mark for check basically goes up from the very component, marks all its ancestors as dirty until it reaches the top. Then a zone tick is scheduled. After this tick, the Angular realizes something has happened and Angular re-renders everything from top to bottom. Of course, the dirty marked path will get re-rendered, but also all other components that don't have the change detection on push. A second way to render could be to use the local strategy. If you use the local strategy, you basically internally use detect changes to render. What detect changes does is it only renders from the very component to the bottom and not more. Oh, this was an unmissed click. So it doesn't go up and down again. And now there is another really cool thing. There is this detach and reattach method on our change detection reference. And now imagine the following. When a component bootstraps and renders the first time, we detach the component from the DOM. And then we do nothing. And as the component is detached, nothing can influence, nothing can re-render this very component. It is literally detached. When a new value enters and we realize this new value needs to get rendered, we just reattach the view, render the value, and detach it again. And those strategies live inside all my pipes and directives, and you can basically switch whenever you want on directive level. And this is really, really interesting to provide you a migrational path to a fully reactive or fully zoneless application. So let's take a look about the global strategy. If I trigger a change here in this very component LC, I would go up to the very top and then I would render everything down. Which means I would unnecessarily render those those marked components here. Let me show you in the template what we can already do. So if I switch to another tab here, solution, and I refresh, we see when I open and close, the number of renderings here change. Whenever I click refresh, it clicks one time, and when the item returns, or it updates a second time. So the click is because of our zone, but the second update now is not. So how could we get rid of those second update? Well, in my component, in the very top of it, I have the strategy marked. And the strategy here is global by default. Also, my template is global. And in my template, I basically should get rid of this directive here. Oopsie. I basically place the strategy in my let directive and can control how it is rendering. The global strategy of the RX Angular template package already works zoneless. So compared to the async pipe, you already could get this zoneless performance here. But we can do even better. We can switch from the global strategy to the local strategy. And if I do this and I take a look at the previous case, we should get less renderings now. if I click the button, the first click should update the parent and the child because this is triggered by a zone. But the second update of the list item, not. So if I click 100 times and I wait, now all the later updates are not re-rendering the whole component until to the very top and the very bottom. This is really cool if you consider this is a real life example and this component sits on a path where you have heavy tables or other stuff. Every single re-rendering will give a impact or a delay that you will realize as a user, and this gives this laggy feeling. Even worse, if you have these animations here. So as you can see, all those animations, even if we don't need them, are basically re-rendering over and over and over again. So what we could do is we could leverage the detach strategy. The detach strategy basically detaches the very component from the view. Let me also detach the parent and now have a look. 2 initial renderings, and now I can open. This is not true. Is it because of this? I have no clue. Okay, just go back. Normally it works on my machine. Normally you should see no re-renderings no matter how often I animate. Just imagine all those numbers are on 0. Normally this has the biggest impact, and I'm so happy when I can show that animations are not triggering re-rendering, but at the moment something is broken and I don't want to waste your time to fix it. Just believe me, it should work. Okay. If there is a little bit of time left, let me quickly check. I have 1 minute left, and in this 1 minute, I will show you how to collaborate. So I showed you the global strategy. I showed you the local strategy with less rendering, and I got rid of zone influence, rid of those over-rendering by the overly cool detached strategy that did not work now. But I have to deal with that. But this would be the really, really cool stuff. As you can see, you have a lot of stuff that really gives you incredible performance. We saved basically 1 rendering per emission, which is a huge amount of re-renderings. And I want to give you a quick insight on the roadmap. So what I will do first is I hopefully can ship the basic set, the ngRx-led and ngRx push pipe in the ngRx repository, and I will ship the fully featured set with the performance features and the strategies under the way cooler library Rx Angular. And there will be a lot of different ideas that land, a lot of different ideas that I already mentioned in the repository, but also a lot of different ideas that I want to basically derive from your side. So if you have good impact, good input, contact, open an issue, give me feedback, try out the tools, check out the renderings, see how much less code you produce with this state component, and give me feedback. I can already do shout outs. We have already 1 core team member, Julian Jandl. He's a really, really active contributor. Then also, I guess, in the audience today, his nickname is Kirill. He's super nice in opening issues, giving super detailed feedback. And I just want to say thanks and want to maybe motivate more people to collaborate on extending Angular for the reactive web in a way that we all deserve, in a way that gives us more performance, less renderings, and more stable code. The the repository is at RX Angular. This is also the ngRX package, so feel free to download it and try it out. I will release a new minor version tomorrow evening, so stay tuned. And I realized that I already get tired, so I ramp up and say thanks for your time. Contact me if you have questions, open issues, check out the library, get better performance. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mike, for the great talk. Let's see that if there
Kirill is in this. You see this wave? It's him. He's very cool. The last comment. Shout out to this guy.
Yes, he's here on the screen. Shout out to him.
Yeah, Kirill, you do a great job. We all love you. Julian, the other core team member, is really impressed by the stuff that you did.
Great.
Okay.
So, are there any questions? Let's bring Natalia also here.
Did she manage, Natalia, did you manage to get it working?
Yes, because I lost track and I didn't start the Scali server. So you do that with npm run Scali serve or something like this. I will post it, and then you have Angular static for your version of your Scali server there. And I was hitting all the time the application, so this is why I didn't have. But I can, let me show it to you. Yeah, okay. So what I ran was, let me not lie on the. So npm run Scali serve, and this starts up a Scali server, Scali static server, which is running in this port. And when you go there, which is, this is the. Now this is actual. Well, it doesn't have any content because I didn't type anything, but I created 2 new entries, and they are there. So basically, that's it. You can have both running.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Should I also bring my microphone in, that we are like similar?
Yes, you should, because I feel so weird with this. It's like, it's huge.
I see I got to gear up, right? Behind.
Hey.
Awesome talk. You did. Thank you very much. Gonna pick up your repo.
Cool.
Looking forward to see it and play with it. And yeah, maybe use it.
What do you mean with maybe use it? You have to elaborate.
I don't know. I mean, you don't. Okay, so you have one.
You have to use it.
I will probably use it.
Use it. Also use the other template from what I created for ngRX.
I'm gonna check
and
it
then
out.
Compare the performance. Bam.
Yeah. I'm gonna go for that.
Double sworded. I commit to 2 repositories at the same time. Bam.
So yes, I will get back to you when I have checked it out. Definitely.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
I will call you.
You are so welcome.
Okay, great. So let's wrap up. I just wanted to actually to give it back to Peter, that he wants your feedback.
Yes, we would love your feedback. Right? Just contact us. If you have a mic like that, just send it to me. We would like to hear how you think this event was. We would like to hear how you think this online experience could be improved, and what you would like to hear next. Write us something, and we will try to do our best to do an awesome event in, what is it, 4 weeks, in 1 month's time, or what, Jerry?
Yes, so what we are going to do is that, as you can see in the breaking news down, that we are going to make sure that we are going to have the regular meetups. So every second week of the month, we are going to have one meetup. And this is the link. This is actually, if you scan it, it goes to our feedback form that we want to hear from you, that what you want to hear next. And the other thing is that I just wanted to say thank you to all of you, and follow our Twitter handle. And if you want to write something to us, our hashtag is ngCopenhagen. Please use it and get in touch with us. And thanks a lot to all the two fantastic speakers that we had for today. You recommend you all to follow them on Twitter if you don't already, because both of them are constantly creating fantastic content for all of you. So then also thanks to all the organizers as well that will help to make this happen. Shout out to Peter, Alexander, Mosen. Yeah, so ciao.
See you next time.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.